Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning to you. What's your thought on Aubameyang this morning? Where's your head with that?
Not just Aubameyang, if you'll just indulge me a little bit, particularly Simon. Two points I'd like to make. Players bought for lots of money and going for nothing is systemic at Arsenal Football Club. If you go back to Alexis Sanchez, if you go back to Ozil, if you go back to Welbeck, if you go back to Mustafi, Gnabry, who's probably worth about 100 million, we sent him out on loan to Stoke. Gadunzi, who's probably good enough and could do a job at Arsenal, but we kept El Nini and sent him on loan to Marseille where he's pulling up trees. Saliba, the same thing. He said he's not ready to play in the Premier League. He's been pulling up trees in the Paris League, and we kept Holding and Chambers instead. Chambers and Holding, Chambers has just gone for nothing as well.
Yeah.
The two players we got left up front can leave in the summer, both are for nothing. And it just seems to me that that Arteta is egotistical and he's narcissistic. It's not about what's best for Arsenal Football Club. It's what's best for Arteta. And he's leaving us short in areas. You can't tell me that El Nini is better than England international Maitland-Niles. You can't tell me that Holding is a better place to captain Arsenal Football Club than Saliba, just in his place. Chambers, he's had more positions than you could possibly fathom. But it's systemic at Arsenal. I could go through a list. Kolesniak, Gadunzi, Ozil, Sanchez, Aubameyang, Ramsey, Wiltshire. Who would have ever thought? Socrates. Who would have ever thought all those players would go for no money at all? And it's about that being a systemically badly run club and also Arteta's ego. Everyone's applauding him, saying, well, at least he stood fast. He stood fast against Ozil. He stood fast against Aubameyang. Who won? Was it Arsenal Football Club? No. Was it Arsenal Kroenke PLC? They won. And what about the fans? We lose.
Richard, stay with us. What a call this is. So is it an ego problem with Arteta, Simon?
Oh, listen, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. First of all, most football managers are narcissistic if you want to level that argument at them. Second of all, his success is inextricably indexed to Arsenal's success. So if you're going to run the argument that he's going to cut his nose off to spite his face because he wants to look in the mirror and do his Dorian Gray best, then you do that, right? If you want to run the argument that Arteta is responsible for an ineptitude via Stan Kroenke and Edu, you can run that argument too. It's those guys that make the decisions. The managers have their input. The managers have their influence. But if you're seriously suggesting that Arteta is going to sit in front of Josh Kroenke or Stan Kroenke or even Edu and turn around and say, I tell you what I'm going to do. I don't like this player because I don't like him. Right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw away the £58 million that we bought him for 3 years ago or 4 years ago. I'm also going to throw away the 17, 18, 19, 20 million quid of your money that's been spent on him. And I'm going to keep on doing this because I'm vain. That's just that's you taking sentiment over fact. I agree that their transfer policy at times hasn't been great, but there are very few football clubs whose transfer policy is excellent. You might look at Leicester as a selling club that get their players through and buy them and use them and then sell them onto bigger football clubs. But Arsenal are in an invidious position. If nobody had given, Aubameyang, a new contract, in keeping with what he expected to get after the 1920 season or 2021 season, whichever it was, everyone at Arsenal going, what is going on with the ineptitude of the Arsenal board? Why didn't they sign him? Why did they allow him to go into the last year of his contract? Sometimes these guys can't do wrong for doing right in the eyes of certain people. I don't think it's great, but where do you expect Arsenal to be? You spent £130 million in the transfer window. You outspent most people last transfer window. Where precisely do you expect them to be?
It's a fair point, Richard, isn't it?
No, it isn't.
And by the way, comparing players going to the French league, which is a really poor league, is a silly comparison.
It's not a silly comparison. Saliba's kept clean sheets against Paris Saint-Germain.
Woohoo! We can all keep clean sheets in one individual game. It's a poor league.
You've had your say. Let me have mine. Are you telling me then that Holding is a better defender than Saliba? Are you telling me that El Nini is a better defender than Torreira, who's another one of Arteta's bin jobs? Is he a better midfielder than Maitland-Niles? I don't think so.
That's fine, and we live in a world of opinions.
But they're all players that he could not get on with.
But that's your observation. That's your opinion.
Is it right or is it wrong?
Well, listen, hang on a second. Hang on a second. Are you in the dressing room any more than I am? Right? No, neither one of us are. Right? So we can both look at things objectively. We can both have an opinion. You're micromanaging. You're asking me to talk about an individual player at Arsenal compared to another player somewhere else. I'm looking at the global positioning of Arsenal as a football club and trying to work out why these situations and manifest themselves, rather than having a rant and splattering it around at everybody to suggest that everything about Arsenal is wrong.
And how they're dealt with as well.
I don't agree with you on Arteta, but I do think these managers are cut from a similar cloth. You can make the same argument about Guardiola, that he's narcissistic. You can make the same argument about Klopp at times. You can make an argument about all these managers. It just so happens that their teams are successful right now and you're not.
A final word from you, Richard. Richard, what happens to Arsenal now, mate? From this point onwards, what happens from now until the end of the season for Arsenal, in your eyes?
Okay, quickly, 2 points. Simon, you should be Prime Minister. You never answered my question. El Nini's not a better footballer than Maitland.
Well, I don't know the bloody player by his individual performances. That's why I didn't answer it.
Secondly, where Arsenal go from now is we're not in any domestic trophies. We're really not challenging for much in the league, and we're not in Europe. So basically, we will just free will until we get to the end of the season, and then we'll look at our financial status. We look at how economically viable we are, and we'll make the person.
And whose fault's that? Arteta's or Stan Kroenke, the silent billionaire, and Edu? Get your guns pointed in the right direction.
Richard, listen, Simon, myself and Alex are going to join you on your show tomorrow between 10 and 1 live on talkSPORT. We're going to squeeze in Gareth just before we head to the break. Gareth, you heard Richard there, not at all happy. Would you have wanted Aubameyang to have stayed, Gareth?
No, not necessarily. Not without knowing what's going on in the changing room and in the dressing room. I think the manager has to have a certain amount of authority. Without being there, we don't know what Aubameyang's done, how he's responded to his suspension. But I just think that the transfer window once again was a circus for Arsenal. It was an absolute joke, and we've come to expect it now. I'm going to pull you up, Jim, on a little thing you said a little while ago about Arsenal making 2 mistakes on the trot with Ozil and Aubameyang. I think it's going to be 4 mistakes on the trot, because we now lose Lacazette in the summer on a free. We now lose Nketiah on a free. You're talking maybe 50, 60, 70 million pounds worth of players in 6 months leaving Arsenal with no comeback. No comeback at all.
So do you feel, Gareth, this morning your club has come out of the window as one of the worst?
Yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt. We've gone from 4 to 6 weeks ago potentially looking like we could challenge the top 4 with a couple of additions to the squad. We're now going to free wheel to the end of the season. We'll finish possibly 7th or 8th. Once again, no Europe, no attracting the big players again, and losing out. Losing out on players to Newcastle.
It's a gloomy picture, Gareth. Listen, we're going to take a break. Simon, myself and Alex here in studio will pick over the bones of what you've been saying, but certainly this morning, serious disquiet amongst the Arsenal support.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.